my dear friend Alex Newman has just been reporting on Davos, while Donald, ladies and gentlemen, is telling you that it's awesome, everything is awesome like the Lego movie. The people behind the scenes are kind of saying, "Hey, we're gonna take off the gloves now. We're going for global government, and Donald's in the way." And so we're going to see what's happening with that in another broadcast with Alex Newman here pretty soon. But I'm just telling you, the New American doing a phenomenal job. Trump is, in my opinion, doing some very strange things. He launched a new global board of peace, which I'm uncomfortable with. We'll try to get to that later. He calls it a board, which I find interesting because that avoids anything to do, ladies and gentlemen, with the proper way we deal with these things, okay? You don't have to have a Senate vote if you do that, right? The question isn't peace. It's whether any president should be able to create this, I don't know what you call it, this board, this thing where he's the chair of it, international global leadership control, simply by changing the names and skipping the votes. See, it's not a treaty. It's not a formal agreement. It's none of those things. And so it's very, very concerning. Although described as non-binding, they say that it converts the structure. A formal diplomacy kind of an idea then becomes a long-term global commitment, expanding executive power without congressional oversight, without, what do you want to say, without leveling with the people. I mean, it really violates the checks and balances. And whatever happened to America first, it really flies in the face of that. So that's problematic. Trump did say so many things at Davos that it's hard to respond to what he said, folks. And he basically said, hey, we're going to work on all kinds of things. We're going to talk about, tariffs. We're going to talk about Greenland. We're going to talk about this and that. And then he went off on the elections. I mean, Donald literally went crazy at the Davos meeting. Trump says, quote, people will soon be prosecuted for the rigged 2020 election. Now, I wish he was right. I pray for this. But folks, 2020 election was 6 years ago, and we ain't seen nothing. Trump's been around for over a year now, and we ain't seen nothing. So I pray that Trump's right, but I don't have a lot of confidence in it. Anyway, here's the best take video of what he said at Davos. Here it is.
We are thousands of miles away, separated by a giant ocean. It's a war that should have never started, and it wouldn't have started if the 2020 U.S. presidential election weren't rigged. It was a rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It was a rigged election. You can't have rigged elections. You need strong borders, strong elections, and ideally a good press. I always say it. Strong borders, strong elections, free, fair elections, and a fair media. The media is terrible. It's very crooked. It's very biased, terrible. But someday it'll straighten out because it's losing all credibility. Think of it. When I went in a landslide, a giant landslide, won all 7 swing states, won the popular vote, won everything, and they only get negative press. That means that it has no credibility. And if they're going to get credibility, they're going to have to be fair. So you need a fair press. But you also need those other elements. And I inherited a terrible, terrible situation. If you look, the border was open, the inflation was raging, everything was bad with the United States when I came into office. But I also inherited a mess with Ukraine and Russia, something that would have never happened. And I know Putin very well. He and I would discuss Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye, but he wasn't going to do anything. I said, Vladimir, you're not doing it. He would never have done it. It was terrible what happened. I could see it happening, too. After I left, I could see it happening.
All I'm saying is, I appreciate it, but at the same time, President Trump launched his new global board of peace. Whatever happened to America first is my question with that. Okay, Trump signed the, quote, Board of Peace Charter at the World Economic Forum in Davos, officially launching a new international body intended to oversee the peace process in Gaza and beyond. It's all about nation building. Netanyahu decided he wanted to put $1 billion in and join. The initiative, which Trump will chair for life, which invites world leaders to participate, is being framed as a permanent global peace institution, drawing criticism that it contradicts the rhetoric of America first and the campaign promises to cut back international bodies, even working alongside or potentially circumventing the United Nations. Some will say, well, this is better. This is the way to go. All I'm telling you is this is a big concern to anybody who's honest with themselves. Because, I mean, will we have another president in America dealing with the internal affairs, but yet Trump still maintains this chair for life thing? So do we have a president of the United States and then kind of a leader of this international group that's Donald? Well, he's like 85 or what? The World Economic Forum already melted down in failure when Klaus Schwab got caught in all kinds of scandals. So just remember that. The bottom line is, Eldon, what do you think of this? I'm saying this thing of Donald Trump and Davos, and I mean, a lot of things he says are great, but then he has these things in there that just make me go, wait a minute, what about the checks and balances? Wait a minute, what about the Constitution? Wait a minute, what about international law? And he tends to walk these tightropes all the time where it's like, well, maybe he's got this awesome plan. Maybe we just got to give him a chance to let it unfold, is what everybody tells me. But at the same time, I go, no, constitutional principles are real. Eldon?
This does raise quite a few questions, and this is a very new development, so it's been difficult to really analyze, what's what so far as this Board of Peace of Gaza. But yeah, overall, our history with international organizations has not been really constitutionally friendly, has it? It's been
I should say not.
basically, yeah, to put an understatement. Essentially, these international organizations have been a tool of the Socialist International to get all kinds of countries together in the name of peace or whatever noble sounding pretext, and to get them to implement things that go along with international socialism or domestic socialism, whatever it might be. All of this, you look at, of course, the United Nations. That would be a prime tool, NATO as well, of getting countries working together and just making sure that sovereignty of that nationhood is undermined, that internationalism, globalism is exalted into some sort of brotherhood of man, as the French Revolution people put it. All of this stuff has been um, pointing us, guiding us gradually toward a one world government under socialism and toward a one world religion, really.
And now we're told by Alex Newman, our dear friend who I trust completely, and others today, Donald Trump's putting a fly in the ointment of this global governance agenda that they have. He's blowing it up. He's getting rid of all kinds of international organizations and strings and everything else. And on one hand, that's true. On the other hand, if he creates this other thing that he's the leader of, you might say, well, as long as Trump's in charge, it's going to be okay. But at some point, if this organization is to stay, Donald will be replaced by what? Another Klaus Schwab, another leader of BlackRock, another.
Yeah, who
So
knows?
on one hand, we think we're trimming this down, and that's good. But at the same time, are we not creating something much worse? And it reminds me of this. Hey, we're going to get rid of NAFTA and GATT, and we're going to go ahead and have this, new thing by Donald, which was way worse than what we had before. Are we into that territory, you think, Eldon?
Possibly. It's it's just really hard to see where this is going. It could be possibly lead to something um, of a genuine area where we negotiate, meet with people from other countries and representatives from other governments and things, and that's not a bad thing. The founders of our country were always very willing to talk with people from other countries, but um, you know, if it leads us to something where we have so-called international law and some stuff that's going to be binding, as different treaties have been with the United Nations, and um, somehow claiming authority over our U.S. Constitution or the constitutions of other countries, well, that would be more toward a world government type of thing, wouldn't it?
That is the problem. So, I don't mean to just criticize Trump. I know it seems like, hey, Sam's kind of turning into a Trump basher. I don't mean to be. Okay, because I really think what Donald Trump has done in so many ways is really valuable. His efforts at the border are tremendous, although they need to escalate big time. I know we think that he's cranking it out, but we've got to get rid of 1 million people a month if we're really going to get a handle on this kind of thing from the past. We really got to do something serious, okay, because there's just too many illegals in this country and too many criminals. So we got to step that up. But I appreciate Donald on the border. I appreciate Donald being the most pro-life president in our lifetime or more. I mean, he's really done a pretty good job on pro-life stuff to the best of his ability. I agree that a lot of his rhetoric is problematic. But you know what? Now he basically says, hey, we're not going to take on Greenland by, having tariffs on everybody. Trump pulls back from threatening tariffs over Greenland. He says, we've got a NATO framework deal that I can go with. President Trump said that he will not impose these tariffs. He also says, hey, I've ruled out using military force in this dispute relating to Greenland. So, it's good that he backs away from those statements. I wish he wouldn't make them in the first place. But I will say that I commend him for that. And I think he's really trying to be the peace president. I think he hopes that he can create peace. But I'm telling you, international foreign entanglements take down the best of intentions, take down presidents oftentimes in their second term. Our dear friend Dr. Scott Bradley highlights this. Every president's second term steps in it internationally, Eldon. People are going to be prosecuted. I pray the answer is yes. But I don't have a lot of confidence people will be prosecuted. Okay? I wish we really would, but I just don't have confidence. All right, by the way, the Heritage Foundation came out with an interesting report. And it's called a policy paper. It's titled Saving America by Saving the Family. It's incredible. Advocating policies to boost family formation by emphasizing traditional marriage as the societal cornerstone. Did you get that? Let me just summarize it. The Heritage Foundation released a report and they're saying, hey, we got to bring back God-ordained marriage as the cornerstone of the family. Jessica Rose, a New York Times opinion writer, of course, criticized the paper, highlighting its use about outdated references and questioning its historical accuracy about the founding fathers. Then she goes into this goofball stuff. She describes the foundation's paper as retrograde and unable to adapt to societal changes over the last 60 years. And then she basically goes into Sally Heming and this and that and says the founders aren't what you think they are. And she basically trashes America. But ladies and gentlemen, the Heritage Foundation cited the marital and parental statistics of the Declaration of Independence insiders. Okay, and that's why she contests it, talking about Sally Hemings and all this kind of stuff. But what they were talking about is hey, in the founding father-esque days, marriage was a centerpiece. Everybody understood that a man was a man, a woman was a woman, and God ordained man and woman to be together in the sacred union of marriage. And their point is we need to return to that. And all the New York Times editor did was trash it. But I'm going to double down in defense of their point. Study after study after study shows that when you have a God-ordained traditional family with a male and a female together with fidelity to one another, and they're loyal to one another and to their children, and they carry out their general fundamental responsibilities for the mother nurturing and the father protecting, of the father, providing, and the mother, involved. And that doesn't mean that those gender-specific responsibilities are 100%. It has adaptation to people's lives, right? Like I'm a blind person, so my wife does all the driving in our family. There's adaptation. But at the end of the day, this Heritage Foundation release this policy paper entitled Saving America by Saving the Family, and they're advocating for God-ordained traditional marriage to be the cornerstone, the societal cornerstone. Well, family is the fundamental unit of society. And so with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, it's pretty clear. And the New York Times editors, instead of spending a little bit of time to follow the studies, the safest place, according to all kinds of psychology, psychiatry, studies, studies about social science and connectivity, all these different things, all of them point to the God-ordained family is the safest place for a man to be, the safest place for a woman to be, or I should say a father and a mother, and the safest place for children to be. Study after study after study bears that out as truth. And so, it's sad that these people are pushing back on this so hard because it's dangerous, in my opinion. It's very dangerous to not acknowledge the truth. But again, what do you expect for the New York Times? As Donald Trump told you, that media is terrible. But what I find interesting is Donald Trump and all the administration and all the different people who are representatives, none of them come on our shows. None of them have opened up the door to discuss things with us. They all talk to the enemy press, if you will. They talk to CNN, and they talk to The View, and they talk to Who's Your Daddy, and they talk to all these different places. They go on all these clowns. Even Fox, they go on Fox as if Fox is their friends. It's called Fox and Friends. Okay, they said, we report, you decide. That turned out to be a big old lie. As long as you talk about what we want to talk about, and as long as you say what we want you to say, then we report, you decide. Otherwise, we'll just simply cut your mic off in the middle of your sentence if you're not very careful. I mean, you've got Marco Rubio fact-checking some of these clowns on air in real time, and they're speechless when it happens. But why are we spending time on that, mainstream press that's so terrible? Why don't we spend time building the honest press, the accountable press, those who tell the truth? Why doesn't Donald Trump come on? And when I say it's a concern, Donald, that you're creating this, quote, peace board when, it skips all of Congress. And, how's this? I'd love to discuss this because I don't mean to be against Trump on it. And if I had a detailed explanation, I might be able to understand a lot more of his intentions and et cetera. But see, without that, I got to speak in a vacuum because I don't have them to tell their story. And I certainly don't trust the mainstream press to get all the details from the mainstream press. They're the problem, Donald says. So who do I go to if I can't go to Donald and I can't go to the press? I've just got to see the headlines and interpret them the best I can, right? What do you think of this incredible? What do you think of this incredible report where the Heritage Foundation is literally saying we got to bring back God-ordained marriage or traditional marriage as the cornerstone of the family? I mean, incredible report being attacked by the New York Times right now.
Well, this isn't a surprise that it's being attacked, and I've been able to kind of skim the report. But basically, the takeaways is it's a pushing back against humanism. The idea of, if you look at the Humanist Manifesto 1 or 2, you'll see that these are ideas that have been slowly put into our society in America very carefully but consistently. Especially through our education systems, but also through the mass media and other places, essentially eroding little by little the importance of family, the importance of marriage, of children, these things that are just by nature the bedrock of any society. And the point of it, for a lot of them, the humanists dovetail very well with the socialists, of course, is to elevate government to be the ultimate authority over everything and anything, and also to disrupt society so that people have to look toward government for that. I would certainly recommend getting a copy at I'll make a plug for jbs.org or shopjbs.org. Our new book brought back into circulation is actually an old book called The Siecus Circle, Siecus Circle. The under subtitle is The Humanist Revolution. Goes through all of this stuff.
And it really highlights how they've taken us down the road of humanist socialism and destroying godly principles. And great book, shopjbs.org, right?
Yeah, called The Siecus Circle, Siecus Circle.
The Siecus Circle. All right, there you have it. Watch for that, ladies and gentlemen. Keep an eye on that. I want to bring in Kathleen again. And Kathleen Marquardt She's the VP of the American Policy Center. Dear friends of ours, I want to just let you, Catherine, welcome you and give a little teaser to your book. And then what I want to do is reschedule you where we can get everything squared away. We had a little bit of glitches, but we want to give you time. So give us a little teaser about your book, and then we'll have you back.
Well, my book is about the whole fight against animal rights, and it's going to be rewritten, but it really doesn't need. It just needs minor things to be updated because a few things have changed, maybe a little bit, but the basic line is simple. We hate animals. We hate people. We love animals, and animal scam is what it is all about. It's about how they're using the fight for rights for animals to attack humanity, like they're doing in every other aspect of our lives. And like you were discussing, what they're really doing is trying to stop people from having other people.
Yeah, and what they really want to do is elevate animals to be almost more important than people. I mean, you see it in society, dogs are allowed everywhere. I'm literally in the hotel and dogs are barking, and I'm at restaurants and dogs are running through. I mean, we've literally let the whole nation go to the dogs over this psychotic idea that somehow animals are just as important and or as more important than people. And that's really the scam, right?
Right. It's the more important that's really true. In Germany, a number of years ago, they had a court case where they had a lawyer representing the animal, and the animal was the challenger, and the animal won that animals do not have to be killed for their fur. It's just, totally bizarre how they're using something that is impossible because the animals have no reasoning.
All right, there you have it, Catherine. Thank you so much. Tell everybody where they can get your book, and then we'll have you back. We'll schedule time and have you on.
You can get my book on Amazon.com and also through American Policy Center.
All right, give us the name of the book.
Animal Scam, The Beastly Abuse of Human Rights.
And it's available on Amazon and all fine bookstores near you, ladies and gentlemen. Also, check out AmericanPolicy.org. Thank you so much, ma'am. We'll have you back for a real segment. We appreciate your understanding. I'm Sam Bushman, ladies and gentlemen. Eldon Stahl with me, JBS.org. Hang tight. Save our republic.
You're clear?
Okay, go ahead and turn that down.